I'm Kaija Rantakari. I'm a poet and a bookbinder. Well, I think I'm very perceptive. I focus on different types of intimacies, and very much the haptic matters. It's really important to me as a person and as an artist how to describe things I touch, or like just tactile things, how the physical world interacts with our bodies. But yeah, I'm also because I'm also a bookbinder and a poet, so I have these two different books in me, like the physical book and the idea of books, and like the content and the form, that are quite separate most of the time. Sometimes I make artist books combining the two, but most often it's quite separate, but I work on both at the same time. So for me, writing can be bookbinding, and then I'm just thinking about the words and not writing them. I was the recent Finnish poetry books. I'd like to mention Pehmeät kudokset by Sanna Karlström. It could be translated something like soft tissues. And I really love how she can take something, like a poet can take something unsettling, like the loss of a parent and their decaying body in the woods, and make it super beautiful and complex. So that's really close to my heart, that book, and the power poets have with words and stories.
Nice.
And then there's also this small letterpress series of artworks by Alison Provax. It's called Time Wasting Experiments, where she wrote down any time she wasted and on what. And the artwork is this series of small prints with just 1 or 2 lines, like 1 hour 32 minutes comparing nearly identical options, or 51 minutes in a small bit of pain. So it's super personal, but also really universal, and just about paying attention to time and all the things we go through during a day. I usually, for a really long time, I just make notes, and after I have very much, I only then see if there's something that comes up more often than other things, what feels important to me. Just giving myself time to make note what feels important to me in this time, and realize that also that's something that changes, even though I'm focusing on certain things more than maybe some other individuals. It's still a thing in constant change. But for me, it's really important to, when I've gathered these notes that are somehow resonating with me in that moment, that I start to see what kind of connections they form. And then I have these clumps of ideas, and they start growing, and at some point I know that this thing needs lines about these things to go with it, and I print things out and cut them up all the time. I keep rearranging these snippets of text, and to me the whole book is unfinished until it's finished. No poem can be considered finished until the final poem is finished. So like until that point, I can take any part of any poem and move it somewhere else, or delete it, or change it. But when the last line has found its place, then it's done. Well, of course, the biggest frustration at the moment is the current government's hatred towards culture. That's something that really affects my work on a daily basis right now, because it's so infuriating. But like a nicer kind of frustration or a problem has been that I actually emailed the Finnish Institute of Meteorology that could someone please tell me from which deserts sand can be carried by the wind to Finland? And I got this really, really lovely reply, super long, detailed response from them. But it also said that it's best not to talk about sand, but about dust. I've written so many poems with the word sand in them, so I now have to figure out what to do with those. Well, my last book was published in 2023. It's called Kerposää. It's about this one night. Two people meet at a party and spend the night together. It's basically a one night stand, but a love story in a way. It's like about how the value of a relationship is not determined by its duration, and also just this sincere meeting of two people. But like with the book I'm currently working on, it's the first book that doesn't have I and you, but it has a royal we and other people, but like no yous. Well, the I in my books is always fictional, but somehow by using this royal we, I can talk more personally about like actual things in a way. People read the I as something much more close to myself than it actually is. But in a way, this royal we somehow is both distant and more personal. But I'm still exploring what happens with it.